Right down there, right below my balcony, is a guy who I've seen at least every 2 days since I've lived here for the past 8 months in Durrës, Albania. And every time he sees me, he speaks Italian. He speaks Albanian, of course, and he speaks Italian to me. Not that I speak Italian, but that's for the older people here. That's the second language they speak. For the younger people, it's English. But we're right across the sea from Bari, Italy, is the nearest port. And during the communist era, they got, any TV they got outside of television, state-run television, was like very snowy, hazy, over-the-air broadcast from Italy. So the older people speak Italian. Now, of course, everybody has a dish, so they watch American English language TV. So the kids all know English. That's the way to learn it. Just watch TV. Just watch TV. You could learn any language that way if there's enough content. Uh, Obviously, this is anyway. That guy out there that I see every day always approaches me, Americano, Americano, Benny, 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 Americano, which is fine during the winter, but during the summer when the streets are crowded and he's screaming Americano at me, and and he's trying to be friendly, but and everybody's head is turning like what's going on here? It's like, just tell everybody, great. Just everybody needs to know. So it gets a little irritating. So when I see him out there, I think, oh, I gotta go the other way. Gotta walk the other block. But he is a very sweet guy, and he's just trying to be friendly. But sometimes it's a little much to be on display. That's a little peek inside the life of a traveler, where you are never, you're a little bit isolated from the people. You'll always be a foreigner if you can't speak the language, and I've given up on speaking the language here. But I'm leaving in a month anyway, so all of which is to say, welcome to Bookless Pete, the channel where we talk about Kevin Toll Reads. And Kevin was nice enough to tag me in his most recent Ask Me Anything. No, that's not what they're called. What does he call these videos? This is a different one. This is another Kevin Toll Reads I want to read next. But, oh my gosh, it's not going to let me.
Are book reviews dead?
Our book review's dead. Our book review's dead. Kevin Toll Reads number 25 or 24. If I get that number wrong, I'm really messed up. Let me know number 25. Our book review's dead by Kevin Toll Reads. And like I said, he did tag me, so I feel entitled to do a reaction, even though my reaction isn't really directly related to his questions. I'm going to bring his questions up just in case. He was talking about the value of doing individual book reviews, and I'm not going to be pedantic and try and spend my whole video defining what constitutes a book review. I take this to mean, from Kevin's context, he's talking about when you do a video that discusses one book at length, whether you consider that a formal review or not. Really, it's not important. But where you discuss one book, and the title, and the title of the video is probably that book, and you talk about your reactions to it, as opposed to any of the other kinds of booktube content. And like Kevin, when I started, I thought that's what I would do mostly. I would read a book, I would talk about that book, I would hit save, I would upload it, and then I would talk about the next book. I don't know how I got that idea, because that's not what most videos I watch are. And like Kevin mentions, the most popular ones are book hauls. And I don't watch a lot of book hauls because I get jealous because I can't buy books because I'm traveling and I have one suitcase. I have thought about even doing book hauls of my ebook buys. It seems a little bit pathetic, though. Although all my other content's pathetic too, and just screenshots of books and all that. Plus, the books I'm buying now are books that I do plan to read fairly quickly, and so I expect that I'll be doing more videos about them. So if I buy 3 ebooks, 3.99 ebooks of some noir master, and then I do a a fake book haul about those three, and then later I talk about those three when I read them. It seems just redundant, but I know that they're very popular book hauls, and I used to watch a lot of them. Now, what I watch a lot of is when people discuss an author, like a number of books by one author, and there's all the events and things which are most fun, and those seem to take precedence. If people are doing, like this week, they're already doing Victober reviews. This is the first week of September, and everybody's doing their Victober announcement reviews, which I apologize if this sounds snotty. I try not to be snotty, but it seems like a little early to be doing the next month reviews because we just started. So I always feel like when I'm reading these books, I'm a month behind because here I am, just barely got started reading some Shakespeare, and now we're supposed to be thinking about Victober. But that's just how it goes. All just to say that the events seem to take precedent. I think for people wanting to make videos in a timely manner, and people who want to, and when you choose what you want to read. I want to read Deb's weekly wrap-up this week. I don't want to read Deb at Raynor Reed's weekly wrap-up from 4 weeks ago. I'm more likely to read this week's. I want to see what Michael K. Vaughan is reading wrap-up is this week. The algorithm, at least what I'm seeing on YouTube, is getting really weird, where it's showing me the most ridiculous old stuff. Like, for example, I watched some news channels and stuff like Breaking Points, and there'll be some news story about Donald Trump this week or the tariffs this week, and then I'll watch it, and then the algorithm will start recommending these Breaking Points videos from 4 years ago about some news story that's completely forgotten. I'm not going to research. I don't understand it. I want to be, if it's a news channel or a BookTube channel I regularly follow, I want to see their most recent reviews. I don't want to, I don't want to get a recommendation of someone reading chapter 14 of a Dickens novel 9 years ago. However, when it comes to book reviews, these probably are valuable. For example, I'm not going to name the book because I am going to try and get it by the end of the month from the library. If not, I'll buy it and do my own review of it. But a writer I like very much, who wrote mostly short stories, mostly justifiably praised for their short stories, has some pretty well-known novels, but I always gave the novels a pass because I thought, everybody raised by the short stories are fantastic. For much of my life, have been at least as much of a lover of short stories as novels, probably more. So if I read his 5 or 6 collections of short stories, why would I need to go on to his novels? But by some strange algorithm thing, I saw 2 thumbnails back to back by 2 different channels that I watch, one from 3 years ago, one from 4 years ago, both holding up the same cover of a particular novel. I thought, well, I'll watch those. See if these guys, whose opinions I trust, in this case they both happen to be men, have to say about this novel, and whether I should read it. And they definitely convinced me I need to read it, even though both of them talked more about his. Oh, we got some traffic down here now. Both of them talked more about this writer's short stories being superior to anything, but this novel being great. His first novel, so I'm going to read that novel. Sorry, that's all vague, probably pointless to discuss, but my point is that I used those reviews of each video of a particular novel. It's not unknown. There's certainly many other reviews of it on BookTube. I use those for informational purposes. I didn't watch the whole videos because I didn't want to get to spoilers. If there would have been spoilers, and I intend to read the book. And once I intend to read a book, I kind of lose interest in reading about the book until I'm done. And then I will often go look for more reviews. If it's a book that I was intrigued by or confused by, especially if I read a book that is highly praised and I for the life of me, cannot figure out why anybody would like this book. I'll often watch a lot of reviews to try and figure out what people are seeing. For an example I can think of is the work of George Saunders, the story writer, and he's not the person I was talking about earlier, not at all, whose work doesn't really appeal to me that much except for one short story. Or Cormac McCarthy, whose books people love, and there's plenty of stuff online. I just don't understand. To me, it seems like people are I just, well, I don't want to get into Cormac McCarthy, I guess, because I've complained about him before. Just interested to see what people think about him. Usually I'm not persuaded, but it does give me more of a context. So those are some of the values that I find in a book review. I will kind of pass a lot of them over because if it's a book I think I might want to read, I might not want to know much about it at all. If it's a book I haven't heard, if it's a book that's real trendy, I'm going to pause for a minute. Hope this goes away. Yeah, a guy out there using a hedge trimmer, a grass edge trimmer on the crab. Doesn't he know that people are up here in the middle of a weekday trying to do YouTube videos? He's trying to garden. How dare he? Anyway, but it is pretty loud, so I figured I'd move inside. I guess this is going to be another rambling, pointless one, which some people tend to like. A couple people do. I guess I like them or I wouldn't keep doing them. I forgot what I was talking about. Book reviews. Okay, so some of Kevin's, I really totally lost my train of thought. Should have ended it there. But anyway, let me look at Kevin's chapter breaks, personal experience and numbers. Okay, talked about numbers. Talked about why book reviews struggle on YouTube. I'll link to his, of course. I think he pretty much covered why they struggle. It is just a numbers game. How many millions of books are there in the world? And if you're doing a review of one book, you're naturally limiting the audience to people who are just interested in that one book. Whereas if you do one like he talked about, like you could do a stack, like you could read my three sign, the mysteries I read this month, and I thought about doing some of that kind of thing too, like where I was going to do like sort of. Stack them. Like I've done it a few times too. Like sometimes when I'm reading a book, I think, okay, now that I finish this book, I'm gonna put this aside till I read this other book, and then I'll talk about them both together because they fit together with genre, or maybe one author. Sometimes when I do a single book review, it's either I haven't got anything else to talk about, which is pretty rare because I don't need to do a video every day. And I try to I do limit myself to one a day. For example, I have one. I have one scheduled for later today, and I'm going to put this up instead, so I'm going to move that out one day. One a day is enough. I think it's probably more than enough. I don't think people watch all my videos. I hope they don't, because then I would feel bad about wasting so much time. Which I obviously don't feel like today because I haven't done one in a few days. So I'm very chatty, I guess. That's why I started with a long, long anecdote, unrelated to books. But another reason I'll either do one because it's just a book I'm so excited about that I want to tell people about, or I think it's an opportunity to do a shorter video. I think people would like it if I did shorter videos. I think people would watch more of my videos if they were shorter. Half an hour from some idiot with 200 subscribers is pretty absurd behavior on my part. But I like doing them. I really do them mostly for myself. I can't really honestly say I'm performing a service for other people. It's just kind of just fun to do it, and I enjoy it when people contact me and find value in it. And people are good about mentioning when they find value in a video. I did one a few months. I did one a couple weeks ago when I talked about what brought me back to YouTube was a nice letter from a student who thanked me for doing a video on a book that there was not much on. So that's a double-edged sword, I believe, is a way to describe it, borrowing from Kevin's phrase, that you do a specific book, a rarely read book or something, it's going to have a limited audience, but the audience is going to look for it more. On the other hand, I could do a review of Lonesome Dove, and it would be the 1 billionth review of Lonesome Dove on any channel. But I would have to reread that to do it. I don't usually reach back and talk about books that I've read in the past. I was thinking about a way to, and I would usually just reference books I read in the past as I'm talking about something else. As I'm talking about something I'm reading now. I focus my channel mostly on what I'm reading now, which is not for the ages, it's just for the week. So the I don't know what you call it, the family of BookTube events and styles of subjects, and not really describing it well, but there's certain types of, there's certain big subgenres of subjects, like there's the book haul, there's the book unhaul. I've never watched any one of those. That seems to me just tragic. Here's all the books I'm getting rid of. Some strange idea for video, but they're very popular, I believe. Or reading the books that came out, or reading the books that are, or providing a little mini challenge for yourself that other people can join in. Like for example, every year when people read all the nominees for a certain literary prize, Pulitzer Prize or whatever, or Hugo's or whatever, that stuff doesn't appeal to me that much, because I really am, as I reach my declining years, as my brain shrinks, and my ability to cognate is impaired more and more. I think more and more about the books of my past and things I used to read, and I'm going back to the genres I used to read all the time, instead of doing what you're supposed to do when you retire, which is to expand and try new things. And I tried a few new things, and they're just not as appealing to me right now. And I don't want to go too heavy on that and just complain about modernity or contemporary fiction. I just doesn't appeal to me that much. I'm just kind of overwhelmed many times about how much better books from the 50s and 60s and 40s and 30s are compared to new books, especially in the entertainment genres. And another reason that I decided to do a response to Kevin's video about reviews is I had been on Twitter, now called X, reading something, just scanning it, just to remind myself how miserable you can make yourself if you stay online all day. And there's a bunch of reviews out, or there's a bunch of tweets out right now as we speak about the new Frankenstein, Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein, and there's a review, I think, in Variety, which seems to be written by an extremely stupid person, and the quotes are all saying, like, this person, the review is critiquing this new Frankenstein movie for making the monster somewhat sympathetic, and it's kind of like the doctor is the villain, and like everybody's like, is this your first experience of Frankenstein? Have you never seen a Frankenstein movie? Have you never read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein? And I have the thought, thinking that's like, well, a lot of these modern reviewers, and it's just my age and my experience and all that, but a lot of these modern reviewers, I'm talking about mainstream journalistic reviewers now, really don't know anything older than 10, 15 years. To them, Star Wars is a classic. To me, Star Wars is just a new dumb movie that came out a few years ago. But to them, it's the foundation of cinema. Star Wars era. That's the foundations of cinema. when they talk about the ancient classic, that when they talk about the classics that formulated cinema, they're talking about Godfather, Godfather Part Two, and to them, Rocky is a movie that they see for the first time when they're 30, and it's a revelation to them, and so my frame of reference goes back much farther because I always liked old movies. Even in the 70s, when I watched a lot of movies, I liked the old ones from the 30s, 40s, the 30s particularly. I was kind of thinking in those terms when Kevin's video came up about reviews, and it just seems like a lot of people, and I know he's not talking about those, he's talking about YouTubers, people like us, normal book-loving people doing our own reviews. But I do feel like sometimes reviewers don't have, I just wanted to put this out there, a lot of the reviewers, they don't have the frame of reference to really discuss things. And that's why all the time you hear like a guy I heard talking about how innovative present tense fiction is. And that's why it's so great, because it's so innovative and no one ever thought of it before. I mean, it goes back to at least Thomas Pynchon, writing fiction, writing whole novels in the present tense. And it's usually very poorly handled, in my opinion. But there's a way to do it well. And most writers don't do it well. They just do it reflexively. They don't know why they're doing it. It's one of the reasons I'll put down a book before anything else, because it just seems so contrived the way some people write this. I know some people are reading Hamnet for the novel Hamnet, which is about the son of Shakespeare. And there's a movie coming out, and I could not get through that book. This was a couple of years ago. I tried to read it. It was like, this is just so contrived and so young adult light kind of stuff. And part of it was the present tense and just the reflexive use of it. Like, why would you make that choice anyway? So, Kevin also mentioned Jim's. How does he frame his channel? Jim's book reading and stuff, who does fantastic capsule reviews, 1-minute reviews. And I don't know if he scripts them out or he rehearses them or whatever or not. He's just very concise and clear, and in 1 minute he will tell you what you will find out in that 1 minute, whether the book he's reviewing would appeal to you, and you would also find out how he felt about it. And that's great. I cannot do that. Maybe it's a skill you can acquire, but obviously my videos are more like random, rolling all over the place. So I will use a single review sometimes as a way to keep the minute count down. Like I think, okay, I'll just do this one book today and I'll be out of stuff to talk about in 10 minutes, because I don't really review the books. I just give my impression of them. If I were doing this for a living, or if I were trying to do this for a living, or if I were approaching this as someone who eventually wanted to make a living out of it, I would obviously have to consider a lot of different things. And I think that's some of the things Kevin's talking about, what is good for your channel. He talks about the numbers. And I'm not constantly surprised by the numbers, but there are things that I think are going to be, that I think are going to be more popular, and there's stuff that's just like not popular at all. And then there is a little bit of, I'll be honest, there's a little bit of audience capture there where you get in the mindset of like, well, nobody really cares about these Planet of the Apes reviews. So maybe I'll stop reading these and I'll read something that people care more about. Like, for example, I did a month of I did a lot of science fiction, Rocket Summer. Those got much lower reviews than the crime books I do. Now, crime is just a much more popular genre. So if I do, something, this noir book I read in 1950, people are interested in it. More people are interested in it. More people interact with it. Science fiction is more of a specialized thing. Or it may just be that I'm not talking about the science fiction writers that intrigue people. Today, science fiction does seem kind of like a forgotten genre. When people talk about science fiction, I'll watch these channels sometimes about the 10 10 science fiction books you have to read, or 10 beginning science fiction books, or that kind of stuff. And it's always like the three body problem. There'll be like one Asimov book maybe on there. Not even a Heinlein book because he's more problematic now, but it'll be mostly modern books. And I would think you would not even get up to 1980 with the 100 top books. You know, I mean, they do Dune is really one of the only old ones they do. That's the big one because that's really modern now because of the movies. There's so much better stuff than Dune. So I like to talk about that stuff, but I don't do it in a real organized, systematic fashion. And science fiction is a genre because the canon, quote unquote, the canon from the 30s to the 80s is very small relative to every other genre. If you're going to talk about the most important mysteries of 1930 and 1980, there's thousands of them. I really don't think there's thousands of important science fiction writers from that era, which means of any era, because I don't know what's going on with it today. I don't really understand it. I don't appreciate it. I'm not the audience for it. And I even sort of cut off earlier than a lot of people with science fiction who go, some of the other old farts go all the way through cyberpunk. I really think cyberpunk doesn't appeal to me that much. It's really stuff that came out before Neuromancer that is good. It's the precursors of cyberpunk. So those are the things I like to talk about, and it is easy to group some of them. And I am thinking about like trying to group some more. Like I'll talk about all the mysteries. I'll pick a day and say these are the mysteries of the week that I recommend or talk about. I usually read at least one mystery a week, or I'll do all the SF for the month, and I'm going to break them down that way. I can break them down a little bit by events. I really hit events recently. Garbage did not do very well for me in terms of numbers for events because maybe so many people have their favorites on Garbage, and I was kind of off the beaten track by doing so many novelizations and things. But it's even that to me is interesting to see what doesn't bore me, but other people are not interested in it. It does, in a way, it keeps me engaged with the current book audience. Somebody commented on one of my videos like, there were novels of the Planet of the Apes sequels, and like I don't think the person, not their fault, but I don't think that they really knew what a novelization was, just never seen it because they're such an old genre now, forgotten genre, which is not even really that valuable. It's just kind of a cool thing from my youth that I like to revisit, and I thought people would like them too, but they don't, which is fine, because other things I do like will get a much more popular. Kind of the there's 2 or 3 type of videos that are popular, in my opinion. So if you're starting a channel or you want to be more popular, I think the ones that always work are tags. If you can get in early enough, some of the tags better than others, and getting it early on what you plan to read for an event, those are pretty popular. People like to see what you're gonna do. It seems to me more than anything, which is weird, but you know, I try and remember my own viewing preferences and consider my own content in terms of my own viewing preferences as much as possible. As obvious as that sounds, I don't think it is quite that obvious. People like to watch TBRs. They like to see what you're gonna do, what you're planning to do, or what you've done. So it's much BookTube, YouTube in general. This kind of BookTube, a person sitting in their Airbnb talking their own bullshit, is personality driven, obviously. And that doesn't mean that you have to have a good personality. You just have to have your own personality. You just have to be yourself as much as possible. I would think, just imagine you're talking to one person the way you would if you were talking to one person on Skype or something, and talk about whatever interests you. Like, what are you reading? Tell people what you're reading. Answer the questions that you think that you would ask if you were the person. So people come to your channel for you, I guess, which seems really strange in my case, but this is the reason I go to other people's channels, because I like the person, or I don't go to a channel because I like the content. I don't go to a channel that, if my favorite book is, I don't know, Lolita, let's say, because I've seen a lot of videos about Lolita recently. I don't go to the channel because the person is reading Lolita. I go to the channel of the person I like to see what they think about Lolita. And it really doesn't matter whether they agree with me or not, because I already like the person. I already like MJ. I already like, there's a couple others who are doing it. There was, for example, or, as opposed to someone like Right Consciousness, when he talks about Lolita, I'm just going to watch it. I watch his videos when he's talking about a subject I care about, not just to see what he says about every subject, because I'm not really part of his audience, and which is fine. He seems, I'm sure he's a perfectly nice guy. His videos are what they are, and he's successful at doing it, and he has a niche, and he follows that niche, and he's doing well for himself in that. But if he talked about all my favorite writers all day, I wouldn't necessarily want to follow him, just to see what he has to say about writers I care about. Whereas if there's a particular subject that he happens to be versed on that I want to learn more about, I will watch his video, or I'll watch someone else's video about Sutri or some other Cormac McCarthy book, if that's what I want to learn about. But I'm not watching. But the channels I go back to the most are where I like the person. These are the obvious ones that I mention all the time, or that I follow, and so it's personality driven, which means the numbers don't matter that much in terms of which videos get the most views, because like Kevin, I like to hear what he has to say about stuff, because he seems like a really good guy, and and his opinions are interesting to me because it's like a parasocial relationship. Same with Faceless Book Reviews, and bigger channels too. I don't always shout out the big channels, but there's people that I just want to know what they have to say. There's people who I never agree with, who I watch their videos all the time. I don't need to list them, I guess, but I just like them as people. So I want to see what they want to give me. What do they want to tell me? What does person X want to tell me today? And doesn't matter so much if it's a review or if it's a wrap-up. Wrap-ups are good because if you do like a person, it's a great way just to see what they're up to. And that is very, expiration date focused. I really don't care that much about somebody's wrap-up from a month ago. I might, if I just haven't seen anything from them from a while, but it is very disposable, and that's the kind of channel I think I have. Whereas if I do a video for one book, I think there's one I'm going to do later. If I do a search on this book, I know there's going to be like 1,000 videos on it, so I'm not going to search on it because I have my own opinion of it. And I think there's enough people on my channel that watch my channel would be interested to know that this book exists. If they don't, it's an older book, of course, from the 70s. I had planned to do the book plus the TV movie made of the book, but then after reading it, I decided I didn't really want to watch the TV movie. So I had it planned as like a little thing to put together. Then I thought, well, what other book could I pair this with? But there's really, this book is very intense, so there's nothing else I could pair it with, and that it wouldn't be unbalanced. So sometimes I'll do a book review that way for. I can't believe I'm going on like this. I'm sorry to anybody who has to listen this far, but so I really don't have any answers for Kevin. He talks about why do book reviews matter, and he mentioned things that I think I touched on earlier. They matter because in many cases they have a longer tail. Oh God, I can't believe I just said that. I'm using Seth Godin language. A book review will stay around. If the book stays around, the book review video will get more views over time than maybe what I read last. Here's everything I read last week, which is not going to get many views after the first week unless you don't post anything after it and people watch it to figure out what the hell happened to you. So you've got those ones that build and go to a little bump or whatever. Really doesn't affect you unless you're sincerely interested in growing your audience, which is not a bad thing. This is not a criticism. I'm just saying if that's what you're interested in. If you're interested in a channel that helps people, which apparently I am not. I'm not interested in helping people or making interesting content or anything. I'm just interested in blowing off steam and a few people like him, and then they know I'm here, and then they look at this and they can say, oh my God, 37 minutes. Well, let me watch this other one that's just 10 minutes long, and that way I can catch up with Pete and see how he's doing. But it's just how your mind works, and mine is all scattered and all over the place, and ADHD, and I have a lot of things that I want to talk about, but not a lot of patience. I don't want to put work into this the way I would if I were doing it as a formal piece of writing or whatever, because then I would quit doing it because I'm very lazy. So I do it in the laziest way possible, which means I don't schedule things out. I mean, I don't schedule like on this day of the week I'm going to do this day of the week I'm going to do this, I'm going to do so many single reviews, I'm going to do so many groups. But I do I just go on vibes, I guess, which is what I'm doing right here. This is really more of an example of what I do rather than what I think should be done. And Kevin asks, "What is it time for a change?" If he's asking whether he thinks whether people think he should do more groups of things rather than single reviews. He says when he asked before about cutting time back, he wanted to cut back time because he was doing too much or putting more work into it than he really had time for at the time, and he thought about cutting back. And people gave him the feedback saying, don't cut back on the single book reviews because those are what we like. But those are the commenters saying that, not the people who don't bother to comment. Which is a bigger part of the audience. I mean, look at your views. If you have a channel, look at your views and look at your comments. Very, very rarely does somebody have more than 10% as many comments as they have views. And then again, 10% many views as they have subscribers. Most people subscribe just to be nice. I subscribe to a lot of people, because I don't want to lose them. I don't want to lose track of them, and and to support them when they're newer. When people just have like 5 or 10 subscribers, it could be a little discouraging, because they might be friends or whatever. And so I do, when I hear about new channels, I do try and subscribe to them. The subscriber thing is really odd on YouTube. I don't really think it affects anything as a viewer. I mean, I constantly get pushed stuff from channels I hate watch or don't subscribe to or have only watched 1 or 2 videos, and then you'll just get fed this crap that you're like, I'm not I'm not an acolyte of Jordan Peterson. I just watched two videos making fun of Jordan Peterson. I shouldn't have to be flooded with clips of fake AI Jordan Peterson pseudo speeches from AI spam accounts. These AI accounts are just out of control on YouTube, and I think people like them. The big thing about AI, I think people really like the slop. They like those. You look on Amazon and the indie books, the bestseller lists are getting really flooded with those obviously AI ugly ass covers, but people like it, and people like the AI thumbnails. But I don't do it because I don't want to do it. But there's even big channels using those Studio Ghibli rip-off kind of caricatures of themselves, and they'll be like a million subscriber channel, and they'll do Studio Ghibli AI, not the real Studio Ghibli, but the AI that rips off the Studio Ghibli house style. And like, why are you doing that? Why? Because it works. People like that shit. People like it when you take someone's style and rip it off. I watched a video the other day called, what was it called? The Greatest Superman Story Ever. And it was about World's Finest, and it was good. It was good video. And then, so of course, what is my punishment for enjoying that video? I go back to the main page of YouTube, and I see a billion videos that all say the greatest Superman story ever. Because someone figured out it worked. It's like if you watch a lot of retirement channels like I do. I don't know why, because I'm already past the point where I could use any of the advice. But I guess it's confirmation bias. I want to hear that I did the right thing, or I should have done something different, or whatever. But you see all these videos that are like, I am 51 and I have no friends. I am 49 and I have no friends. I'm 62 and I have no friends. And you watch them, and it's all the same thing. It's all clickbait. They're like, I don't have friends because I choose people I spend time with very wisely, or I left my job and now I'm not friends with the people. It's always the same shit, and I always fall for it. Same thing with the best Superman story ever, and they each have a different screen cap from a different era of Superman, and I'm not going to watch all those. So I have to ride it out for a couple of days till the algorithm decides that no, I don't really want to watch every video Edward ever made with the title of the best Superman story ever. Maybe at the bottom there'll be one that says the best Batman story ever. And that's when I go back to my subscriber list, when I'm getting flooded because I made the mistake of watching one particular dumb video. Not that I wanted to make it my whole personality to watch this type of video. This happens a lot with politics. I'll watch something from somebody I don't like, or I'll watch something criticizing a person I don't like, and then it's like, boom, takes over. So that's when I go back to my subscriber list, and I'll start hitting on people I subscribe to and watch those, kind of as a tool to clean out the excesses of the algorithm. This is way off topic now. I feel like I want to keep talking, but basically, sorry for keeping you so long if you're still here. I take that back. It's up to you whether you're still here or not. I wanted to apologize to Kevin Toll Reeds, but hopefully he didn't get this far. But anyway, thanks to Kevin for tagging me on this again. Don't know if I came to any conclusion because I went so far off topic, but I think it's a different calculation whether you want no viewers, whether you want a few viewers, whether you want happy viewers, or whether you want a lot of viewers. If you want a lot of viewers, then definitely spend a lot of money and do unboxing videos. I think Kevin is trying to find a way to keep the people who love his channel satisfied and do what he likes, but also have that sense of movement. Nobody wants to feel like they're really talking into a void. I mean, Kevin's channel does great, so I think he'll continue to do great because he's just himself, and I think he doesn't have to worry about it. But these are the kind of things that come up when you're a YouTuber, whether you thought they would or not, or whether you want them to or not. You have to think about all these issues. Am I posting too much? Am I posting not enough? Am I posting the wrong kind of things? It's just a an inevitable part of the process. I think some people say they don't care. I don't care, but I obviously think about it. I don't sit down and really plan it out because that would make it not fun. But I do find it interesting what people like versus what they don't like, and that really teaches me more about the people who watch than it does about what I'm interested in. You know, you might think something's really popular, and then it turns out it's not popular at all. And I always find that to be useful information. Not that I can do anything about it, but not that I would want to do anything about it. But you know, books are a strange beast because we have this very, very small segment of society that care at all. But within it, and this is what is so different than movies, for example, there's so many books compared to movies, even though it seems like there's a lot of movies. There's not per year. How many movies come out a year? 100? I mean, probably less now since the pandemic, but, you know, a few hundred, even if you're the most serious film cineast guy, you watch all the Hollywood releases, you watch all the top indie films, you look up the festivals and see what the buzz at the festivals. It's still not going to be more than 200 or 300 films. It's still not going to be more than a maniac could see in 1 year. But you cannot do that with books. You cannot read every book, unless you're Steve Donahue, you cannot read every book that comes out in 2025. And even he probably doesn't read every book. I mean, I'm exaggerating there, but he probably could. And plus he has so many old books to read. You cannot, you know, some of my favorite writers from my childhood that we talk about on BookTube all the time. Edgar Rice Burroughs, Robert Howard. Who are the other big ones? People talk about in this corner book table all the time. Burroughs, Howard, Louis L'Amour. I haven't read all their book, any of them, every single book. I haven't read every single Edgar Rice Burroughs book, even though he was my favorite writer in junior high school, and that's why I sometimes go back to him just to read ones I never read. Now I know some people have read all his books, but just making the point that there's so many books. So if you're going to review them one at a time, you know, you do one book a day, 365 books a year, you're not going to, and start back in antiquity, you're not going to get out of the Roman Empire before the year's up. You know, you could do that, and that's why people who do, you know, you can go very far if you just do Victorian fiction. If that's your focus, if that's what you love, and you do that all year round, you're not going to run out of stuff. So I think that is part of the reason that individual book reviews don't do that well. One thing, people might want to read the book, so they don't want to watch the video. People might not want to read the book, so they don't watch the video. People might have already read the book, so they don't watch the video. Whereas, you know, in my case, I do like to watch them if I've read the book sometimes to see what other people think of it, more so than reviewing the book. I remember talking about a series of books by, it doesn't matter. I'm tired of talking now. Okay, that's my really rambling, irrelevant reaction to Let Me Know 25 by Kevin Toll Reads. Thanks, Kevin. Talk to you guys later. If I can turn it off.